My name is Grace, and I'm 28 years old. I never thought the people I loved most would become the reason I felt so small. I am married now, living with my husband Daniel. But one evening at my parents' house changed everything. It started with a phone call. My parents invited us to a small party at their home. Just a gathering with friends, my father said. His voice sounded warm, almost excited. I believed him. If you're watching this, please subscribe. Daniel and I dressed nicely and drove over. Walking into the house, I was wrapped in old memories. The smell of my mother's cooking. The familiar walls decorated with family photographs. It all felt like home. For a moment, I thought maybe this was a chance to heal. But I was wrong. That night wasn't about family. It was about humiliation. My father had his own plans, and in front of strangers, he would strip away the little dignity I thought I still had. That was the night I stopped being his daughter and became his target. The living room sparkled with fairy lights, music drifting through the air. My father's friends, men I barely knew, sat around laughing with glasses of whiskey. My mother moved nervously, refilling drinks and forcing smiles. The moment we entered, my father stood tall. "Everyone," he said loudly, "this is my daughter Grace and her husband." For a second, I felt hope. Maybe tonight he would be proud of me. But then he smirked. "Don't expect much," he added. "She's nothing special. Just a school teacher, you know. Nothing compared to the rest of us." His words cut through the room. Laughter erupted, low and sharp. My face burned. Daniel squeezed my hand tightly. My heart sank. I realized this wasn't a welcome. It was a show, a stage my father had set. Not to celebrate me, but to mock me. I tried to smile, tried to laugh it off. But inside my chest, something cracked open. My father had always been harsh, but this was different. This was public. This was cruel. As the men kept drinking, the jokes grew louder. "So, Grace," one of them asked, "when are you planning to do something impressive? Or is teaching all you can manage?" The others laughed. My father nodded, fueling their cruelty. Daniel spoke up gently. "She's an amazing teacher. Her students love her." But my father scoffed. "Love? That doesn't pay the bills, Daniel. She never aimed high enough. I raised her better." Every word dragged me back to childhood. The times I brought home good grades, only to hear, "Not good enough." The times I begged for his approval, and all I got was silence. Now, nothing had changed. I was still the girl who could never measure up. I searched for comfort in my mother's face. She stood by the kitchen doorway, eyes down, hands trembling as she poured another drink. She didn't say a word. She didn't defend me. All my life, I had hoped my mother would stand up for me. But she never did. She always chose silence. Always chose him. That night, her silence was louder than his insults. I wanted to leave, but Daniel whispered, "Let's stay a little longer. Walking out now will give them exactly what they want." So I stayed. I sat there, smiling weakly, my heart shattering piece by piece. I realized I was trapped between two betrayals. My father's cruelty and my mother's silence. At one point, my father stood with his glass raised high. "A toast," he declared, "to success, to real achievement, to people who make their families proud." Everyone raised their glasses, except me. I sat frozen. Then he added, "And to my daughter, who proves that sometimes, no matter what you give a child, they will still waste their potential." The room roared with laughter. My throat tightened. Tears stung my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Daniel slammed his glass down. "That's enough," he said sharply. But my father only grinned, pleased with the attention. For him, my pain was entertainment. The more the night went on, the bolder he became. He recited embarrassing stories from my childhood. Times I failed, mistakes I made, twisting them into jokes. His friends laughed harder with each one. I wanted to run, to scream, to vanish, but I sat there, my nails digging into my palms. Finally, I stood up. Dad, stop. This isn't funny. My voice shook, but I said it anyway. The room went silent. For a moment, I thought maybe he would back down, but instead he sneered. Sit down, Grace. You'll ruin the party, like you ruin everything. The words hit me harder than any slap. I felt Danielle's hand on my shoulder, steadying me, but something inside me snapped. Daniel stood beside me, his voice strong. I won't let you talk to her like this, he said. His jaw was tight, his eyes burning with anger. The men chuckled. Careful, son, one of them said. This is his house. But Daniel didn't move. House or not, you don't humiliate the woman I love. Not like this. For the first time, my father looked caught off guard. His smirk faltered, but only for a second. Then he laughed, shaking his head. So protective. You'll learn, Daniel. She'll disappoint you too, sooner or later. That was the moment I realized. My father wasn't just trying to humiliate me. He wanted to destroy me in Daniel's eyes too. The air in the room grew heavy. Daniel turned to me. We don't need this, Grace. Let's go. But my feet were rooted to the floor. Part of me still longed for my father to stop, to apologize, to tell me he loved me. Instead, he leaned closer, his voice low but sharp. You think you've escaped me, Grace. You think marriage makes you better. You'll always be a failure in my eyes. The cruelty was endless. My chest ached. My hands trembled, but my voice finally rose. No, Dad, I am not a failure. I am not your punching bag. Not anymore. The room froze. For the first time in my life, I stood against him. Daniel took my hand. We're leaving, he said firmly. Together, we turned toward the door. My mother called softly, Grace, wait! But her voice was weak, uncertain. She didn't move. She didn't stop him. I looked back one last time. My father was laughing again, pouring himself another drink, as if nothing had happened. That was the moment I knew. He would never change. He would never see me as enough. And so, with tears sliding silently down my cheeks, I walked out of the house that once felt like home. The car was silent. My hands shook in my lap. Daniel kept one hand on the wheel, the other gently holding mine. Grace, he said softly, you don't deserve this. You never did. I stared out the window, the city lights blurring through my tears. Why does it still hurt? I whispered. After all these years, why do I still want his approval? Daniel didn't answer right away. Then he said, because he's your father. But wanting love from him doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. I closed my eyes. My heart felt broken, but also lighter. For the first time, I realized the truth. I could never change him, but I could change myself. The days after the party were heavy. I replayed every word, every laugh, every silence. But slowly, I began to see clearly. My worth had never come from my father's opinion. It came from me, from the students who loved me, from the husband who stood by me, from the life I had built despite his cruelty. I wrote in my journal, I am not his failure. I am my own success. For the first time, I began to let go, not of the pain. It was still there, but of the need for his approval. That chain was finally breaking. My name is Grace. I am 28 years old, and I am done chasing a father who never saw me. That night at the party broke me, but it also freed me. It showed me the truth. I don't need his validation to be whole. I have Daniel. I have my work. I have myself. Yes, I still wish things were different. I still wish I had a father who loved me unconditionally. But wishing won't change reality. What I can change is my path forward. So today, I choose peace. I choose to stop waiting for words that will never come. I choose to define my own worth. And maybe, just maybe, this is the beginning of the life I was meant to live. A week after the party, my phone rang. It was my mother. For a moment, I froze. I didn't know if I had the strength to hear her voice. Grace, she whispered, her voice trembling. I'm sorry for what happened. I should have defended you. Tears filled my eyes. For years I had dreamed of those words, but now they felt too late, too weak. "Why didn't you, Mom?" I asked. My voice cracked. "Why did you let him do that to me?" There was silence on the other end. Then she said softly, "Because I was afraid." Her words cut deep. Afraid. She had chosen fear over me. And in that moment, I realized I could forgive her weakness, but I could no longer let it bind me. One evening, Daniel found me burning old letters from my father. He watched quietly, then asked, "Are you sure about this?" I nodded. "Yes. I have carried his words for too long. Tonight, I'm letting them go." The flames consumed each page. His criticism, his disappointment, his coldness. With every crackle, I felt lighter, freer. When the last letter turned to ash, I whispered, "I am not his failure. I am my own." Daniel wrapped his arms around me. For the first time, I didn't feel like a daughter begging for love. I felt like a woman reclaiming her life. The chapter with my father wasn't healed. It never would be. But it was closed. And sometimes, closing the door is the only way to step into the light.